Okay, hi everybody. I'm Rishi Narayan here in my capacity as the editor and publisher of India Golf Weekly, and with me is Jesse Grewal, India's foremost golf coach, based in Chandigarh. He's of course got a whole retinue of students, but today we're going to, star students, I should say, not just students. But today we're going to talk particularly about his probably his biggest star student, Shubhankar Sharma, because last week we all enjoyed watching Shubhankar just had a fabulous display of golf at the Open Championship. Jesse was right there with him at his side, and so we want to pick Jesse's brains, see what we can learn from his interaction with Shubhankar over the years, and what we can learn from Shubhankar's performance last week, and of course his whole style of golf and his preparation. So, Jesse, I haven't probably done justice to you in your introduction, but if you want to add a couple of things about how long you've been coaching and all that stuff.
Thanks for having me, Rishi. I mean, you've done enough on the introduction. But I've been coaching. I mean, I love coaching juniors. Firstly, that's something which I always do. In fact, I'm not very happy coaching club players. I work even now with juniors, even if they're 4 or 5 years old, and it's just great fun teaching juniors. And because that's the future, and I think that's the way they would become something. You have a little bit of a hand in molding somebody, or being part of somebody's life, and that really happens when you work with juniors. So it's been a great journey, and I've been very happy to have some of the guys who I've taught, whether it's Shubhankar or Ajitesh or Kocher or Abhijit, and they've sort of been there when they were from 3 years old. Coach Karandeep Kocher was 3 years old when he started with me, and they're still with me. So it feels good because at least they know what's happening in the world of golf, and yet they continue to trust me and stay with me. And I think it just sort of makes it easier when you have, the history of the player, what you can do with somebody and what you can't do. So that kind of thing really works. You've taught somebody from the time when they were very young, and that's the individual part that each one is different, and it's just been great fun and a lot of satisfaction seeing Shubhankar do what he did at the Open.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think coaching youngsters has got to be one of the most satisfying jobs, and especially if you're passionate and you love the game, and just seeing those kids, having success, what could be better? So let's dive right in. Jesse, I know we could probably talk for a couple of hours, but knowing a taste of people, we'll try to move right along. So I'm going to start with the beginning with Shubhankar. What age did you first see him, and when did you kind of spot that he had maybe a little better talent than some of the other kids his age?
So Shubhankar started me when he was 9 years old. That must be about 2005, I think, or 2005, 2006, around that time. And I mean, at that time, his dad was in the army, so they were always coming from somewhere or the other. And then they moved to Patiala, I think 2-3 years later, he used to come twice a year at the beginning, probably, or 2-3 times a year, whenever. And that's always when there's a junior tournament around, you come to that area, and then you come a week before and take some lessons and things like that. When he was in Delhi, he would come a little more frequently. And so the time when he was in Patiala, I remember I used to run the camp at the army course in Chandimandir, and they would come at 5:30 in the morning, because the camp used to be early morning, and he and Amandeep Jal would come in a gypsy, and they would come early morning. And he would be always wanting to say that, I think he must have been 11, 12 years old, that, "Sir, let's go out on the course, let's go and play." And I would say, no, I don't have time for that. But he was always wanting to play and enjoy the game. And that's something which is, I think, very important with kids, is that they must love the game, and they must love, and I think that the ability to score comes from the ability to build a short game and a good putting stroke at a very early age. And I think he had all that, and he had the ability to score when he was very young. I mean, he won All India when he was, I think, probably 15 or 16 or whatever it is, and that's when he decided to move on and go into the pro world. But I mean, I don't know if I spotted a talent very early, which was special. But if I look back, I mean, like at that time, I didn't think he was so special as compared to everybody else, because there were a lot of good kids who were coming around. But when I look back and I think of all the stuff, I think he always had the mind and the focus to be a star.
Right. Was something in his work ethic or something that he maybe did differently than the other kids?
So firstly, he's very open. He, even now, if we go somewhere, he says, if you want to change everything, change everything. He's able to change at any time. He's able to listen and able to change, and then he gives feedback that, yeah, this will work. I can see the ball coming out of the window which I want. I can see the ball rolling on the green the way I want. And so you're able to experiment sometimes, but you know that there's a certain amount we can do, and we work always within that same framework. And his feedback is fabulous. And once he has a belief, I mean, when people say the word pressure, like that, once he has a belief that the ball's coming out the way he wants to, I don't think he feels the pressure on the golf course.
Right. Yeah, that was obviously evident on at the Open, because conditions were so tough, but he was just hitting amazing approach shots, hole after hole. And obviously, even on the 72nd hole, that shot he hit in, I mean, obviously there was no pressure. He was not feeling any pressure.
Yeah, and it was a shot which I mean, there was a discussion between his caddy Lyle and him, and it was whatever 200 and something yards into the rain, into the wind, and he had to hit. That guy recommended a 4-iron, and Shubhankar was standing there on the range and saying on the 80th hole and saying, I can hit that low one with the 5-iron and I can go at it. And I was standing just outside the ropes there, and he just took it on, and it was a left flag over the bunkers, which is the danger area there. And he just hit it, and he just believed that he could see that shot. And that's what I say is that, you know, when he sees a particular shot and he can do it on the range, he will go and execute it. I mean, he wouldn't play safe, that just put it in the middle and two-putt. He would go for every shot.
Right. I mean, that was an amazing shot, 200 yards into the wind. The ball almost pitched in the hole. I mean, and finished, you know, probably 15 feet past. That was just an amazing shot.
Right to the back nine, he had attacked, or he had been on every flag. If he had holed a few more putts, it would be a different story. But he had holed a lot on the front nine. He had made a lot of up and downs on the front nine.
Yeah.
So it's not that it was it just didn't go in. That's it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the putt on the 72nd, I thought he had made it. I mean, yeah. I'm sure he thought he had made it, but it was just.
Even on the 17th, he thought he had made it. The one before that was thought he had made that one also.
Yeah, that was a really good putt. Anyway, so tell me, you know, obviously he's had so much success as a youngster. So at the age of 15, you said 15, 16, he won the All India Amateur. And then, you know, what was the time that he really decided to go pro? And tell me about his decision to turn pro at such a young age, because it was a little younger than most people.
Well, he just felt that he had the game. I mean, it's something which I also kind of believe in. I've had Kocher all turn pro very young. I mean, I don't know. I just felt that, you know, they sort of kind of stagnate if you play a little bit of amateur golf and go abroad, it's fine. But if the pro golf is the real world, we all aiming to get into pro golf. And if you have the game and you have the belief, I think it's always good to turn pro early, provided you know provided you have the game. I mean, that's very important.
Yeah.
And that's
so did he have Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask, did he have enough international amateur exposure? Did he play for India and travel quite a bit?
No, he didn't have much international amateur exposure. He just went into pro golf absolutely very early.
Okay.
Didn't think about college golf, didn't think about anything else, just wanted to be into pro golf.
Okay. And what was his, you know, obviously the family they are very closely knit. They travel together a lot, and his dad is a lot with him. How does that whole dynamic, you know, help a player?
See, the dad has sacrificed everything for Shubhankar. He left the army. They moved to Chandigarh for being there because I was there, and they had no connection with Chandigarh. They moved there and they hired a house in Panchkula, and then they hired another one in Chandigarh. And then, I mean, when he did well with the thing, they have finally built themselves a home. And so they have been there for him all the time.
Wow.
And the mother is very spiritual. She is the same. So I think they have the right balance. The father is behind him all the time. And I think it's just great. I mean, and they were all together. We were all together at the Open. And I think he is sort of benefited from the whole family being there and from me being there, and it was just the right atmosphere, I think.
Right, right. So tell me, I mean, sometimes you feel that when the family has sacrificed so much, like you said, they actually moved, dad left the army. How did they make sure that that didn't put so much pressure on the kid? You know, because sometimes you worry that if the family is doing so much, then it puts a lot of pressure of expectation on the kid, and he feels that he has to deliver. And how do you
I
handle
don't know. I
that?
think they just had the belief that he will do well. I think they just had it in them, and they all. And it was he. Shubhankar had it. He's never shown me signs of pressure in all his life. I mean, I've traveled with him for lots of tournaments, and he's always the same. He's always enjoying himself, and we never discuss. As we finish a round, we never discuss any bad shots. I never highlight any negative of the game, and we just go to the range and work out the shots which we think could be better. I mean, so the thing is that I know a lot of people sort of highlight the negatives, and I don't believe in that. I believe you can always just get better, and that's
Yeah,
all you have to try and sort of not say that this is weak or that's weak or this is it's not good enough. That's words which we never use. And if there was some over the years, his short game, if you look back, was not up to the mark. And because we don't have the lies which you get abroad, we don't have that kind of short game which is required for those greens and those lies.
yeah,
And now I say that he's built himself an excellent short game. You know, and the putting stroke is it's a variable thing. You sort of it sort of comes on, goes off, and he wasn't putting well. That's why he wasn't playing that well, because he was hitting it really great over the last even many tournaments, but he just
right,
was not holding putt. So we did some work on the putting, and it sort of paid off. And
great,
it just simple stuff, and it just worked.
right, right. So I think what you mentioned is very, very key, is that the student has to be very open to
Yes.
to taking feedback and not think that, no, this is how I'm going to do it. I don't want to listen to any changes. So that's a key, I would say, in a mindset, right?
Just to give you an example, we were at CIMB some years back, I think in 2018, and he had ordered a putter, and it came in an hour and a half before he had to tee off for the first round. And he put it in his hand and he said, "Okay, sir, does it look good?" I said, "Yeah, this is what we're looking for. The ball's coming off absolutely correctly." And he took it onto the tournament without a practice round.
Wow. Okay. That's a great mindset to be able to have that, because people are so locked into, being the same way sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's important.
He is open. I mean, the first time I traveled to a big one was to the Masters, which I was almost like a spectator, because I didn't know what I had to do there, because I mean, I didn't want to change anything. I said, he's come off some very good tournaments. I didn't
Right.
want to touch any, just was there to see that, look at any of the shots which required to be worked on. But when he got to the Open at Carnoustie, he told me on the range, as we were walking the range, ke, "Sir, aapne sab kuch badalna hai, badal do." So we had no idea that we had to, we in your mind, when you go to the first Open, you think that you got to hit low shots, you got to hit stingers, and we're standing on the range and we're looking at that. There's that cable with the thing, and all the data is coming on and everybody's hitting at 110 feet apex. Nobody's hitting it low, and we're wondering that, so we just figured out that if we can keep spin axis under 5, you'll be able to play it into the wind. And we worked on just trying to get the numbers right, and he played decently. I mean, that was his first cut he made at a major, and I think from there we had an idea and slowly got an idea how to play poor weather, how to play the wind, how to play those kind of lies, and over years he's built up on that.
Right, right. Okay. So I think that's an important point you mentioned, that to play in the wind, you want to keep the spin rate down.
And the spin axis, the tip of the axis, means that if you have a draw swing or a fade swing, it should not have a spin axis of over 5. So there are numbers
Right,
which TrackMan gives you. You
right.
want to keep it under that. Won't do too much to the ball then.
Okay. So more than and how about the backspin rate?
Well, if you're trying to hit it low, sometimes you are creating actually more backspin rate. So if you're
Yeah.
hitting on your normal driver with the right spin rate, and if your spin axis is under 5, you can play the wind. The ball is not going to move that much.
Right. Got it. Okay. And does Shubhankar play a kind of a, does he play, what ball does he play?
So he's playing the 2019 Pro V1X.
Okay.
He's very like, let's say, his equipment is he's very sensitive to equipment. So he's
Right.
still playing irons 10 years old, right? He
Oh,
doesn't want to change too much. He's got, and driver we keep changing. So at the moment it's a Titus driver. We went from Epic to different things. He has a 3-wood which he trusts, which is a TaylorMade. So, and we sort of not believed, and this is a decision we made, was not to sign up with any company for equipment, because sometimes you're forced to play a particular model of it which may not suit you. So we've stuck to the clubs which he wants to play. So it's a mix. Everything is a mix.
I see. I see. But the X has a higher spin rate generally, right? In the wind, you have to be a little.
The 2019 one doesn't.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
That's
he's playing
interesting.
the old 2019 ball.
And you're able to get those.
Yeah, he's able to get that.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. So, what about data? Do you guys keep a lot of stats and track
No,
all his rounds?
we don't. No, not really. We just, I mean, it's all in your head. You see what's happening. You see the golf course. This time, what we did was we went in the early part of June to do some practice rounds at Liverpool. This is the first time we prepared for the Open, right?
Right.
Otherwise, on a major so far, we've been on a Sunday and started work on Monday. So the 3 practice rounds really helped us, though the course was hard and running that time. And it was all 2 irons which we were hitting, because and we just to keep it out of the bunkers. But it gave us a very good idea of what the golf course was, where was trouble, what we had to do. And as we went now, the course was playing much longer. It was wet, and the ball wasn't running like it. So it suddenly became from 2 irons to drivers. Otherwise, you think it will be all 2 irons, 3-wood. It won't be a driver. And but he had his yardages. He switched, and he didn't hit one bunker in 4 days from the tee. And he had 2 bunkers only, and he made up and down from both that on green side. And that's what was the planning which we could do, because we'd been there before. We'd figured out that if some greens, like in most Indian golf courses, if you go over a green, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
There, over the green was the best bailout.
Got
in
it.
a lot of the greens.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
It out of his mind. I kept telling him, Shubhankar, if you go, don't be afraid of going over the green. Don't be afraid of leaving it short. I mean, I'll go over, and then you end up leaving it short. Let it go over. So long holes, he was over the green, and he made up and down from everywhere.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, he made a great up and down on Sunday on the first hole from that bunker, front right
From
bunker.
that bunker. Hole, you'll see, second hole, he was over the green. If you notice, he over the green. So and fourth, he was over the green in 2 rounds. So it was something which, it was a strategy we had sort of made, because you could see in the layout, and you'd see that place. Otherwise, you never actually go over the green to see what's there.
Yeah.
You got a habit of just looking at the green and what's around it, and not over it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great lesson, that to go the week before a major and play 3 extra practice rounds, and it changes. It can, I mean, obviously it helped a lot.
So we spent a month before, and we came back, and that gave us, you were time to internalize it.
All right.
Otherwise, you're still there, and you're reacting to what's happening at that moment. So it gave us time to internalize what was to happen. And you had seen Tiger Woods 2000, I mean, his round when it was dry and hard, and because we were preparing for the dry and hard.
Right.
But you had to do that way. Just stay out of the bunker.
Yeah, that's true. So, very important thing that you said is that he doesn't feel pressure once he's, hitting the ball well, etc. But what is it? Does he use any special, techniques in his mind, or breathing, or something to kind of get in the zone and block out all the external disturbances?
Well, he does. I mean, I don't. I mean, this is stuff which I just know that he does it well. So we don't discuss it. We've done some work on focus band at one time when we were having something on putting. We had experiment on using focus band for his putting, because sometimes he used to not look comfortable before the putt. There would be a lot of thing. There would be a lot of that, and I knew he could not see it in his mind. So we'd done some focus band stuff. I mean, I'm not sure how effective, but it gives you an idea of what you have to do, of how to get the picture in your head. Because I saw Jason Day played around with him, and in the first 10 holes, Jason Day had only 11 putts, and he would stand on the ball, he would close his eyes, and he would just picture the shot in his mind and then make the putt. And Jason Day had used a lot of focus band when he was world #1. He had used a lot of the focus band stuff. So we tried this, and yeah, I guess he has internalized that feeling of trying to get into a quiet eye. And but Shubhankar does have that. And all we did was make a routine where he has to hit the ball with that many looks and not take more time than that. And that's something which worked there.
Right, right. Got it, got it. No, that's useful, visualization, sticking to a routine, quieting the
Yeah.
mind, all those kind of things. So tell me, I mean, that week, I mean, last week at the Open, um, was there something different that you guys did after the round or in between? Because the pressure was building. He was on the leaderboard almost the entire week, and he hadn't
You know,
been playing too well the previous few weeks. So what did he do in the evenings and things?
so Shubhankar is a very hard worker. Sometimes, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday is our hardest work we do. And sometimes I quote to people that if somebody takes a lesson once a week, they've taken 4 lessons in a month, which is say a half an hour lesson. That's 2 hours of work in a month. And if you take it in a year, that's 24 hours of 24 hours of work. We do like 7-8 hours every day, right? Between from the putting green to the range on Monday, and only going to play 9 holes. And because we'd already seen the golf course, we didn't want to tire ourselves to go to the golf course. And Wednesday it was to rain, and we said we have to go and play the back 9 in the rain, just to know what's going to happen in the closing holes when it's raining.
Right, right,
So we
right.
did prep. I think this time there was some work on
Wow.
his putting, and the first 2 days like 4 hours on the putting green, and then
Wow.
some work on. And we just went through stuff which we've done before, but sort of it gets out of position. He does a lot of. He has a physio who travels with him, and he has to do a lot of releasing and a lot of activation to be able to play well. So we know that now before we enter the golf course, he first goes to his physio, does his activation, does his stretching, then has the breakfast, and then we go and start in a particular way. We go short game, putting, or whatever we do. We've got a plan every day. So there's a
Right.
blueprint all the what you have to do.
Great, great. And is Shivankar, like you see today, the strengthening and the fitness training, how is he dealing with that?
He does a lot of work. He does a lot of work. He does this guy, the physio, is very good. Ian he's a Scottish guy, and he travels for some of the tournaments. And so Shubhankar is make sure he does all his conditioning work, all his activation work, and he's become a lot disciplined in that.
But is he working on strength and speed? Like, you see so much emphasis on
That's
strength and speed today.
absolutely strength and speed. I mean, like when he won Maybank, his speed was about 106, 107 mph with the driver. Now it's about 115. So it's gone up quite a bit over the work since he won at that time, and that's something which is all the workout he's been doing.
And is he constantly working on that? Does he feel he needs to get even faster? Yes. Okay, so he's working on it. Right, right.
Yes.
And do you see the trend on tour continuing to go that direction?
Well, this golf course was not a bomber's golf course. It was not an advantage for somebody who's going to hit it longer.
Yeah.
Every almost like a dog leg, or there's something in the way where you have to lay up, or the bunkers were the thing. So it was not a bomber's golf course. It's for accuracy, and Shubhankar was really accurate this week from the tee. I mean, he rarely was in the rough, and despite playing with lots of stars, I think he was better than anybody else I've seen on any of the days in terms of his accuracy from the tee and the greens he hit.
Yeah, I mean, his ball striking seemed to stand out. He was the only guy who didn't make a bogey on Sunday, which is an amazing. Yeah. In those conditions, not making a bogey is just unreal.
Yeah, and from the beginning till the end, from our warm up to the end, it was just raining right through.
It was raining. It was terrible conditions. So tell me, I mean, you've got a lot of students who are on the PGTI tour playing in Asia, and a whole lot of talent in India playing so much. What do some of these boys who are playing, at the PGTI level and some, moderate success on the Asian tour, what do they need to do to get to the next level? What can they do?
Well, I mean, I'm pushing a Yuvraj Sandhu and a Karandeep Kocher to play more abroad, right? So I know the biggest thing is the expense. It's that that they need to be able to invest or put in some money, because it's in PGTI they're doing well. And now with the purse up, they make fair amount of money in the PGTI. But they have to look at, and it's the conditions are completely different. Whether you play, if you play Asia, it's completely different. If you play Europe, it's completely different. So I'm pushing them all for qualifying in Europe and to just move on, because that's the way they'll progress. And it's always hard in the beginning. And if they get a little of luck and the work's already been put in, I think they can make it. And they need to always look ahead and get to the bigger tour.
No, that's a great point. You have to play overseas. And so would you say that even for juniors today who are, hoping 13, 14, 15-year-olds, is it that the international exposure that they need to do? Because otherwise they just get stuck playing Indian conditions.
So first I asked them to be selective on the tournaments they're playing in India. Look at the golf course you're going to and go to the tougher golf courses and the better golf courses and select your tournaments on that. Don't go and play the easy golf courses and think that you've reached there. Look at your scores at whether it's at Kalar or is it at Royal or at DGC or and because they don't get to play DLF in juniors, so they and look at KG and look at what you're doing at these golf courses, because that's the way forward. I mean, if you win 5 tournaments or 10 tournaments on some other courses which are easier, which the IGU puts tournaments on, that's not going to tell you where you really stand. So you really have to push it to the better golf courses and try and do that. And you have to limit the stuff, because lots of people are just collecting trophies and saying, oh, I've won so much. And, they have to play selective tournaments and then do try to play abroad, do try to get there. And that's something which, and the easiest probably for them is to go to Thailand and play there or Dubai if they can. But somehow seems to be easier towards the east, and Dubai, though it's not far, it's got damn good golf courses, but they don't seem to have enough tournaments for these kids to go to.
Yeah, that's true. There's more in the east than
in the east
than in the Middle East. Yeah, that's true. So, so we need to wind this down. So I just wanted to say that, what are Shubhankar's plans now for the rest of the year? How much is he planning to play, and is he planning to try and get onto the US tour, or is he going to stay in Europe? What's it looking like?
So he got an invite to play a tournament immediately after the Open, but he was too tired. He couldn't go the next week. So he's taking some time off, and he'll go back to Cron and start from there again. So there's those events. At the moment, we're just looking at that and seeing how he does for the end of the year, and then we'll figure out what the plans are for forward. But he's happy to play in Europe. He's now got comfortable in Europe, and let's. The next thing is, I don't think we're looking ahead at the moment and trying to look at what the next goal is. It's just to do well in whatever he's playing, do well in the Rolex Series events. Let's see what happens.
Right. He's going to come and play the Asian Games, isn't he?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
That's good. So how do these pros? Sorry, this is maybe just digressing a little bit, but how do the pros? How does Shubhankar view Asian Games? There's no world ranking points. There's no money.
No, he's quite happy to be playing the Asian Games. He would like to play for the country. That's something which he is very strong in his mind. So for him, the Asian Games, he asked me also, said, "Sir, will you be there?" I said, "Yeah, I'm available to be there." So that's something which he wants me to be there, and he is quite focused that his next goal is an Asian Games medal, and that's something which he is looking forward to. And it's a strong team. The Indian team is a very strong team this year.
It's a strong team. Yeah, let's a good opportunity to do well. I think both on the men's and the women's side. It's a good team. So, while we sign off, I just thought, is there anything you'd like to share with some of the parents and the juniors out there, in terms of their approach, and what advice could you give them?
I think the most important part of the game is putting at the moment. You can see that it stands out. If you for juniors, if they don't love putting, then they have no hope in the pro world. You really have to be very creative in short game, and you have to putt well. Everybody is too busy on trying to hit it further, and I don't think that's everything in golf. And you have to be, you need to be long, but it's not everything. There's no point if you are long and your wedge play is not good enough and your putting is not good enough. So in the end, it's going to happen when you are good at all these games, and I make all the kids and all the juniors and all even the amateurs practice 75 to 80% of their work on the three clubs which are the most important: is driver, wedge, putter. And that's, I mean, they spend lots of times hitting 7 irons and hitting 2-3 buckets or even 300-400 balls with the irons on the range, and that's not going to score for you. It's not going to work. And I do make everybody buy the book Every Shot Counts, because they must understand in practice that if you sort of, people are doing the stats on the golf course, and they say I didn't make a chip and putt, and I say that, okay, what was the difficulty factor of the chip? I mean, was it a good lie? Was it a bad lie? Was it a tough flag? Was it on a slope? You can't just have a thing that, okay, from 30 yards I didn't make up and down. I mean, it could be completely different depending on the difficulty factor. So I said, you got to know and gauge yourself that, I mean, it was a simple chip and I couldn't make an up and down. And what happens is the way they practice also, if you look typically, Rishi, at everybody when they practice, they make a lie when they're when they're practicing pitching. Every time they put a lie, I said, that's not what's going to happen on the golf course. So you've got to make sure that you're working on conditions which you're going to find in the golf course. You have to practice from bad lies, from all that kind of stuff. And make everybody do all this. And I think I have worked with Phil Kenyon. I've been, and for courses for putting. So, I mean, people are just stuck up on the golf swing. They need to understand that the other games are far more important, because that's your scoring area. Secondly, I think, a lot of people try and tell kids about course management, that you have to hit middle of the green. I don't think anybody will shoot a 10 under par if you hit middle of the green. You cannot be safe and play golf. So if your short game is good enough, you can attack any flag, and you have to be confident you'll make up and down if you get short-sighted. So that's why the short game for me is very important. And I do believe that for a player to shoot a low number, he has to be more aggressive. And people are getting aggressive from the tee, which is not what you need to be. You need to just put on the fairway and know your iron play, and your short game has to do the rest of the work, and your putting. Right? So they're talking about being aggressive from the tee, man, lambi marunga, I'll do this, I'll do that. That's not going to give you your score. And they get very conservative on approach shots. And that's what's going to change everything for everybody. I think that's, for me, is important is this part. And also that pay more attention to your short game and your putting.
Right. No, I think this is the best advice you've saved for last. I think probably the most effective thing is how you spend your time and where you put in the work and what's your focus. And this is just brilliant. 75% on driver, short game, and putting. And yeah, if you want to shoot low numbers, you got to attack the pins, and therefore your short game has to be really good, that you're confident of getting it up and down from tough spots. Yeah,
because that's what you see on tour, is everybody is aggressive, and and if you can't shoot. And the second thing is, people work a lot on what's being consistent in scoring. I think that's not ever going to happen. I mean, if somebody can have a best player in the world can have a 62 one day and a 72 the next day and have a 10 shot swing. We can have a 20 shot swing. It doesn't matter, as long as you can go deep on a particular day. And that's what's more important. I mean, if somebody shot 72 for 4 days, they won't make their card in pro golf, right? Yeah. So in the end, it's how deep can you go, and that's the one which you want to be able to focus on. That's the ability of a golfer.
Great. Okay, I think that's great advice, and I'm sure everybody's going to find this very, very useful. Thanks so much, Jesse, for your time and for such good words. It's always great to try and capture this advice and share it with more people. So thank you so much. And what's next for you? What are your plans now?
Well, I have a clinic in Nairobi. So some of the kids came. I mean, one of the younger kids came here sometime back, 2-3 years back, and he's become good. So there are a lot of other guys. They say, we want to get a coach from outside. Let's see if we can get the juniors getting better. So I have a camp there at the end of August. And then probably we'll see what comes next, where Shubhankar needs me next. I mean, he doesn't need me very often, but whenever it's a big one, he's sort of happy to have me there. And we'll take it as it comes.
All right. Okay. Great. Thanks a lot, Jesse. I think you're pretty active on Instagram. People can follow you there, and it's good. We hope maybe in the future we get an opportunity to do this again. But thank you once again for all your time.
Thank you for having me, Rishi. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Okay.